Hey guys, welcome back to Andertons TV, or maybe you're on JustinGuitar.com. I don't know, but
one of them.
It's another it's another rut buster video with me and Justin. And if you haven't worked this out yet, the episodes are being alternated between the Andertons YouTube channel and Justin's YouTube channel. So do subscribe to both so that you don't miss one. And
Absolutely.
Today, what are we talking about?
We're going to learn about the major scale and why it's really important and how it's actually really cool fun to make music with, and it's not something people use to torture school children.
Or me.
Or you,
Yes.
in this case. So. You know what the major scale is, right?
Yes, I can hum the major scale.
Okay, how does it sound? When do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We've all heard it, right? And definitely it's one of those things that you encounter at some point on your guitar journey. A guitar teacher tells you that you have to practice playing the major scale up and down.
Yes.
My music teacher in high school really was persistent, trying to get me to learn this major scale. And I wasn't having it at all. It wasn't bluesy, it wasn't pentatonic, it didn't make any sense. But I did really like Metallica at the time.
Okay.
And I transcribed on my, from a record, the intro solo to Fade to Black. And when I transcribed it, it's not a particularly difficult solo. I didn't learn the fast bit at the end, just the first chunk. But as I learned it, I noticed that it actually had the same pattern as the major scale that my teacher had given me that week in class. And I was like, Metallica used the major scale. And I was like, maybe there's a reason why I have to learn it. But what I was really disappointed about is that the teacher didn't tell me that stuff at the beginning. He didn't say, here's a scale you can make awesome music with it, you can improvise over your favorite songs. It was like, here's this horrible thing with a difficult finger and you have to be careful of the picking. And it was all just horrible things instead of fun things. Yeah?
Yes.
So
that's summed up nicely the last 80 years, 100 million years approach to music tuition. Fortunately, not so much in the last 10 years. But
there we go.
Anyway.
So what we're going to do is, I've got a piano here, and you can try this at home if there's a piano in your house and you want to just have a little bit of fun. The reason that we use piano is because it's really obvious where the notes are. It's easy to see where the sharp notes are because they're the black ones, and you can see the white notes, which are white.
Yeah, and actually, even if you haven't got a piano, if you've got an iPad or even an iPhone,
that's a good point.
Just I'm pretty sure there's a free app.
There almost certainly would be.
So you can do this even just with a phone.
So, do you know which note C on the piano?
No, it's one of these three, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
That one.
Yay! So where the two black ones are by themselves, it's the next note along. That's the note C. So if we start on that note and we go up one step at a time, it should sound like a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
So there's no sharps.
There's no sharps and flats. Yeah?
Okay.
So, did you realise that chords come from scales?
Yes, I think I probably didn't approach learning them like that, but yes, it would make sense that a chord is a number of notes from a scale played simultaneously.
Did you know that a chord would usually, or a triad, this type of chord, would have a root, a third and a fifth? Have you heard that before?
No. Well, if I had, I didn't remember it.
Okay, so chords, all of your basic bog standard chords have got three notes, so G, C, A minor or whatever, unless it's got a 7 or a sus4 or something else like that. It's going to have the first note, a third note and a fifth note of a scale.
Okay.
Yeah? So if we start with this note C, and then we miss a note, which would be 2, and then play the next one, which would be 3, miss one, which would be 4, and then play this one, a 5, we've got the C major chord. Yeah? Now you can see that this is the notes C, D, E, F, G. It's just alphabetical from C, right? C, D, E, F, G. Yeah?
Okay.
Play a C chord on the guitar. There we go. The notes that you're playing are C, E, G, C, E. That's what you're playing there. It's exactly the same notes. Make sense?
Yep.
So, it makes sense that we could use our C major scale over that chord, right? So if we play that chord, we could play like... They fit well together, right?
Yeah.
Now, you know that there's chords in a key, right? You've heard of that term.
Chords in a key?
Yeah, like let's play in the key of G.
Yeah, so you'd have... How would there be a chord in the key of G?
We're about to do it. Well, we're going to do it in C. So we're going to stay with our white notes. So if we take that first chord, which was C, and we move all of those notes up one step along the scale, we get another chord. Does that sound like a major chord or a minor chord to you? Is it happy or sad?
Major chord. Happy. Is it sad?
There's happy.
Oh God, okay, so it's sad. Yeah, it is sad.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, there we go. So the second chord in the key of C is a D minor chord. Now I'm not going to go through the whole theory thing of all of that now, but what I just want to show you is that the chords in the key of C, and this is a very abbreviated, I'm going to do like the whole of major scale music theory in like half an hour, so I'm simplifying it a little. But if we go through the chords in the key of C, we'd have C, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and back to C major. So that would be the chords in the key of C. We would say that would be C major, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, and C.
Okay.
Yeah? Does that make sense? You with me so far?
Yeah, I don't know where we're going with it, but
you're about to find out.
Okay.
Okay. So did you notice that all of those chords that I just showed you only used the white notes?
Yes.
So if they're only using the white notes, we're using C major scale to form all of those chords. All of those notes in all of those chords were all found within C major scale.
Right.
You with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. So have you played piano before? You ever played a lead solo on piano?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so I'm going to play chords in the key of C. No, you're just going to play single lines, single notes.
I see.
And you're going to improvise a little solo. Just use the white notes.
Using the
so
white
I'm
notes.
only going to play now on the guitar the chords that were in the key of C. So C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, and A minor. I'm not going to use B diminished because it's a funny sounding chord for this sort of situation. But you're going to make up a solo. Don't try and play too many notes because it won't make any sense. Just play a few, let them ring out a little bit.
One at a time?
Listen. One at a time, definitely. One at a time. For now, we can worry about more later on. You ready? Here we go. 3, 4.
Why do some of the notes sound better than others? Is that just...
Now we're getting interesting. It all sounds good though, doesn't it?
They all fit loosely, but there are some of them where you go, oh, that's nice, and some of them you go, oh, that would have been better over a different chord. And
exactly. So how do you think that you learn what the notes are that sound good and sound better than others? So I use the little joke of the Orwellian thing, right? So all of the notes are equal, but some are more equal than others, right? So you can use any of them over any of those chords, but definitely some are going to be a little different.
I mean, is that just experience of knowing which notes to drop to?
So look, it's on piano, and this is why I like teaching this on piano, because it actually makes it really obvious. There's a C chord. If I'm playing a C chord, if you play that note in the middle of the C chord, it sounds nice, but it's not
quite... It gives it a different vibe,
exactly,
doesn't it?
as if I played any of those notes. They're all really consonant because they're chord tones. But if I hit one of these other ones, like this note, I'll play it up an octave.
Yeah, it's not nice.
It's not nice, but actually it's nice to go... It's fine to step off it. You just wouldn't want to sit on it for ages. Much like when we were doing that lesson a little while ago and we looked at the sixth. On the A chord, it wanted to resolve itself. And it's exactly the same on this. So you've got two options now. You can learn all of the notes and all of the chords in all of the keys, and then instantly in your mind be able to tell straight away going, oh, he's playing a G, so the notes are G, B, and D, so the notes that I can, right? That's really complicated. There are probably dudes that do that. I don't have the computing power upstairs for that kind of stuff. So I go for the using my ear approach, which is that if I land on a note that sounds a little bit funny, I use the note either side of it is almost certainly going to be a good note, and you just move to it. That's what I was doing when I gave you that example. I went, oh, that's not great. Oh, that's good. I can play it again, but
Yeah.
I'd move off of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Now, there's loads of songs common in the guitar repertoire, but slightly outside of the blues realm that people would probably like to play over, but they're a little uncertain of how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah? A really good example of that is a song like Wish You Were Here. Or actually even simpler, Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Okay.
Right?
I love Wish You Were Here. Just
Okay,
in case
let's
you
do
wanna
Wish
stay
You.
with that one.
Let's talk about Wish You Were Here, but only we're not going to use Wish You Were Here. We're going to use Wish You Weren't Here, which is a song I wrote, which happens to have the same chords as Wish You Were Here, but it's not actually that song. Okay?
Absolutely.
Just to
For
avoid any
copyright
copyright
reasons,
problems. Yes. So the Wish You Were Here and Wish You Weren't Here, both of those songs, have chords that are in the key of G. All of the chords in that are using G, C, D, A minor, which are all chords in the key of G.
Yes. Yeah.
So, do you remember your G major scale? When we were doing your practice last lesson, it was an A major scale, but there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
So that is the scale that you can use to solo over Wish You Were Here, and it sounds awesome.
Fine.
Yeah? So let's just first have a go at using that scale, and then I'm going to give you a couple of tips on how to make it much more musical, because when you first start, there's a couple of things that are very likely to happen. But I want you to start off with, just have a little go at improvising with that scale over that chord sequence and see what happens.
All played in position 1?
All played in position 1. I don't want you to move out of position. I don't want you to change fingers. In fact, I'm going to make it even easier just to start off with. I only want you to use the middle 2 strings. So it'll be first finger, third finger, fourth finger, first finger, third finger, fourth finger. That's it. They're the only notes you're allowed to use.
Yeah.
But I want you to think about trying to make it like music. No. Stick with your fingers.
Oh, I've got it. I can't.
Exactly.
I see.
We're going to change fingers very shortly.
Yeah.
But
No, that's fine.
As an exercise to start off with, just stick with the right finger. I love the guitar, by the way.
It's great, isn't it? It's very John Mayer.
It's mega. You ready?
Yeah.
3, 4. Good. Now, remember what we were talking about with these chords, that if you hit a note that's not right, just move to the next one. Doesn't matter, yeah? Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's
Dude.
so interesting how you, again, I don't know if I've necessarily had that watershed moment, but where you're just purely instantly going through those 3 chords, or you throw the 4th with the A minor or whatever, that, you know, where, you know, that note works over some of them.
And it doesn't work over the other ones.
But it doesn't not work, but you need to go, so you need to go there.
Exactly,
don't
you need to
quickly?
resolve it. Yeah. So this is major scale harmony, and this is how it works. It's also the gateway to things like modes and all sorts
I'm
of
glad
other
Dave
stuff.
Gilmour, you know, didn't have to do the entire solo to Wish You Were Here, just using those 2 strings and those 6 notes. 'Cause
that would have been
that
fairly
would have been a
restrictive.
less popular song, wouldn't it? That one?
Quite probably. Now, let's open it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, does it make any difference if I play this note with this finger, this finger, this finger, or this finger? Can you hear any difference? No, I can't, right? So what would be the reason for playing the scale like this and using those particular fingers? Why would you want to do or not want to do that?
I don't know.
So learning a fingering for a scale like that is good for playing the scale up and down. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all that it's good for. When it comes to the real world, scale fingering is pretty irrelevant unless you want to do like technically fast things where a particular fingering or a particular picking is really important. When it comes to improvising, it doesn't matter what finger you use, it doesn't matter what pick direction you use. It's much more important to be expressing yourself, to trying to make something that sounds good, that you enjoy listening to, that other people might want to enjoy listening to, and all of that other stuff doesn't make any difference whatsoever.
What's the, if I'm not leaping too far forward here, the G major scale, where fundamentally it ends up looking quite a lot more like the sort of E pentatonic scale. Is that just G major played in like the third position or some other position for one.
Yeah, how much do I allow you to divert here? So
no,
there's three minor pentatonic notes within each of the major scales.
Yeah.
When we're talking about, you said, the E minor pentatonic scale is the E minor pentatonic is the same as the G major pentatonic. So I often describe it as the major scale with the difficult notes taken away.
Yeah, so I mean, all I mean is, for example, just for me, trying to be inspired to play a solo where I'm thinking that the notes are, within that scale, as opposed to go, I know those notes, I know they're still notes that are in the G major scale, but I've played them in a shape or a pattern that I'm much more familiar with, and the only thing in my mind that I've got to remember is that the notes that I'll need to accent or resolve to or whatever are different in a major pentatonic, pentatonic than they would be in the minor, but the actual shape is pretty similar.
Cool. So there's a couple of.
I know there's one or two notes.
The long answer, long term, you don't really want to think in terms of scales and scale shapes and all of that. You don't. That's not the point of those things. Is to help you learn the alphabet and to learn where the notes are. Eventually, your fingers tend to find where the sounds are on their own. So I don't tend to think of, like, unless I'm teaching in terms of a set position or pattern 1 or pattern 3 or whatever. They're just sounds, and I'm trying to find the sound in my musical mind or whatever, and I'm trying to, those scale forms, through practicing them over and over again, mean that my fingers naturally find their way to the right notes because they've done it a lot.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To get there, you have to practice each of those scales to the point where they become a little bit automatic. Now, at the moment you're saying, well, the major scale is fine, but how can I use that other thing that I'm really comfortable with? And I'm saying, well, you can use that thing that you're really comfortable with, but actually for right now, in my opinion, it would be better for you to get comfortable with this idea, and that way you'll have another thing that you can use, because you're already comfortable with this idea of using the minor pentatonic over the G major scale thing, G major pentatonic.
You know what, I'm conscious of, let's not get diverged from that, because I'm conscious that what I haven't really had yet is this, I haven't joined up the dots between, what was the point of this and the 8 notes that kind of work from it. So when I'm trying to correspond that to guitar playing.
So there's a lot of music that doesn't stick to the rules, right? So there's a lot of bands like Nirvana, particularly the Nirvana signature sound is playing chords that aren't in the same key. So there's not one major scale that you can play over their solos most of the time. Nothing's absolute, but there's a hell of a lot of music that is within key or sometimes moves between a couple of keys, which is a slightly different, more complicated thing. Bands like the Chili Peppers, really interestingly, nearly all the time stay within a key of a major scale, and Frusciante's playing is often using major scale ideas. It's a really, good thing to realise that people, bands like that are very, modern are still using these basic kind of harmonic structures, right? So once you understand this idea of chords in the key, and we've learnt that in the key of C, in the key of G so far, we've had the G chord, the D chord, the C chord, the A minor, the E minor, G with a D bass would also fit in there. All of these are in the key of G.
That's essentially doing this.
It's the same thing, but in the key of G. So the key of G major, if we try to find that same do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, we find we've got one sharp. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So each time we get near the F note, we'd have to change into F sharp. So we'd have G, A minor, B minor. See, I hit the F, which sounded rough. We'd have to add the F sharp. There's C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished, and then back to G again. Yeah, so you can see all of the Fs were moved up to an F sharp, and we ended up with a different set of chords. G major, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor. Excuse me, I'm not really a very good piano player at all. But you can see that that's the set of chords. You can hear it still do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, but there's a new set of chords. So if we take any other song that uses that group, any one or more of those chords, you can use that same scale to play over it, and it's going to sound really groovy. So let's think of some other songs that just use those chords.
Well, there's the... Did it have to be a D minor? It didn't have to be. It wasn't D minor, was it?
That was D major.
So the
C.
new John Mayer tune.
Okay, what are the chords for that?
A minor.
Right.
D.
Yeah.
G.
Yeah.
C.
Okay, so what's that song called?
Is it New Light?
New Light. So this is a new song that
Old
we're
Light.
writing called Old Light,
Broken
which has the
Dark.
chord A minor.
By Fred Major.
What was it? A minor, D, G, C. Okay, so let's improvise on that. Here we go.
And I've got to play that same.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can use whatever. No, in fact, I only want you to use your first finger now, just as an exercise. Only first finger, those same notes.
But still within the G major.
Just those
chord.
two strings.
Okay. Okay.
Just as an exercise. Here we go.
Yeah.
3, 4.
Yes.
Works, doesn't it?
Yeah. Exactly the same. And again, you've got to, I don't know if there's something about these two notes in particular, but they seem to be the ones that only work in certain places in the song, and the other notes seem to more consistently work.
Okay, so if you took those notes away, you might end up with the major pentatonic scale.
I see.
Like I said, it's the major scale with the difficult notes taken out.
Which is why the major and the minor pentatonic scale are the guitarist's friend, because there's no bad notes in
but
there.
It's not so much bad notes, it's just notes that you have to be a little bit aware of. But this is for most guitar players that I meet when I'm doing like one-on-one lessons or whatever, the step out of the pentatonic into this kind of land is where it becomes really interesting, because you can start to develop a whole heap of new ideas that aren't just those standard blues ideas. And what you're really doing now, and I can tell you're doing it, is listening. You're playing stuff and you're listening to, what does my guitar sound like over this? Rather than, if you're playing a blues, it's very easy to get into this, like, you're very much in your own world, and you're thinking about your licks and what you're playing, and the rest of the band could be doing almost anything. Whereas in this situation, you're having to interact with me. You're having to listen to what I'm doing, hearing what you're playing, and adapting to it, which is, that's, I think, a really powerful tool that, with a bit of practice, will infect your blues playing as well, because you'll start listening to what you're doing over a blues.
So let me just get this right again. Any song that contains a mix of any of those chords,
yes,
we can play. We were playing the C. Well, you could play the C major scale over,
and you can change the keys
even
of
if
all
it
of these
wasn't
ones.
the root note of the. Just doesn't matter.
Let's another exercise. Same 6 notes. Here we go. I'm going to play a blues in A. Same 6 notes from the G major scale. You ready? 3, 4.
Doesn't sound very bluesy. But,
no, it doesn't matter that it's not bluesy.
No.
It's a new palette. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, it's the same notes, it'll have a different flavour.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought it sounded quite bluesy, a bit Lay Down Sally, what you were playing there at the beginning. It had a little bit of that vibe.
Okay, so how do I learn, or is there no magic way? Do I just have to physically try and be like an actor and just remember the lines? How do I learn the chords in each scale?
In each scale.
So that sounds like a gargantuan task.
It's not. But that is going to have to be another one lesson. Because that's actually a fairly that's a pretty broad topic, and it's very interesting and very useful. And there are a couple of tricks that I can give you to show you shortcuts, but it's still, even with the shortcuts, it's going to be a long task. So what I want you, the key things that I want you to get to grips with out of this is that the idea of a key means that there's a major scale. And from that major scale, each one of those major scale notes has a chord that would be built off of it. Yeah, so in the key of C, we had the major scale, then we built a chord off each one.
Yeah.
And if we learn those chords, the order's the same always, by the way. So it's always major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. And with the diminished chord hardly ever gets used in pop. Like there's hardly any examples I can even think of. So really you're thinking about C, F and G, the major chords, D minor, E minor and A minor, which are the minor chords. Yeah?
Right, yeah.
So I'm going to show you some shortcuts on that. But
I'm not sure how much of this is that level of this is sinking in. So don't worry if it's not sinking in for you either.
I mean, this is the thing I'm doing now with you in this little lesson, something that I would normally teach over 3, 4, 5 months.
Okay.
Right?
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is fairly intense level of stuff that we're doing, right? Normally it'd be major scale for a week or two, just over the chords without trying to understand it, then trying to understand a little bit more about, there's notes that resolve, which you picked up really quickly, probably because we talked about it before. Yeah. Now, what you want to do now is start trying to apply this major scale idea to loads of songs, and a great way of doing this is to pick songs that are in the key of G and improvise over them. Yeah. So Knockin' on Heaven's Door is a great one. The Guns N' Roses one is tuned down a semitone, so you'd have to use a program to tune the track up or move the major scale down or whatever. Wish You Were Here is a great one that's in the key of G. I'm struggling. Heart of Gold by Neil Young is in the key of G.
Free Falling by
Tom Petty is in the key of G. Anything that's just using the chords G, C, and D. A minor.
Did you say Sweet Child of Mine?
B minor and E minor. I didn't.
Sweet Child of Mine is.
Okay, Sweet Child of Mine. Yeah. I think there's sections of that though that change, where it goes into the. There are sections of that. So
absolutely.
The problem with some of those sort of songs is that like you can improvise in G, but then suddenly it changes key, and you're like, nothing I'm playing.
This is why, and again, I'm sure, like most of you who are watching this will have got one. This is where I think loopers are amazing because, and if you don't know what a looper is, I will demonstrate. I have a looper on the floor here, but let's say I wanted to do that.
John Mayer.
Or whatever.
No, our version of that had the same chords as his.
I can't remember what it was. Was it
A minor, D, G, C? That's what you told me. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the song, so.
Yeah. So you'd get the rhythm going in your head like that, and then the idea is you stomp on the looper at the beginning, and at the point where you return to the first chord again, you hit the looper again, and you get this kind of effect. So. That's if you didn't have a loop already in there. Let me clear the loop, so you get this kind of effect. And there it is, forever and ever until you delete it. So you.
Yeah.
And that's why I love loopers. And since the looper got invented, I would actually say now it's the most important pedal to buy.
I think for an intermediate level guitar player it is. I've sometimes encountered beginners that are still struggling with their rhythms and stuff. And unless your rhythm is solid enough, the looper is very, very difficult to use because you need to be consistent with your rhythm first of all.
But all I meant was as a pedal. I think most people will go and buy a distortion pedal first or an echo pedal first or something like that.
No, I agree.
Looper pedal is just genius.
Yes.
Much more interesting than a metronome. Although I guess different, different things.
No, absolutely. It's different for the reason that when you're practicing, scales with a metronome, it's mathematically really unforgiving or whatever. And if you play like that, it's a little bit looser, and you can be looser with it. Whereas,
if you want my tip as well for a cheap looper, the TC Ditto looper or the Boss RC3, both of those are something around about the 70, 80 pound mark.
Ditto is what I use on my pedal board all the time.
That's RC3, but the RC1 is the more affordable.
You're totally right. What's the difference between an RC3 and an RC1 then?
One's got drums in it.
Oh, okay, we don't want that then. Well, so I am using a slightly more expensive one, but yes, the basic functionality that you need, 100%.
See, I don't,
Boss RC1
I don't
Ditto
like the
looper.
ones with the drums in it. I found it really I wanted to hear my guitar back, and I hit something, and then suddenly there's all these drums coming out. It was like,
the bigger ones where which are predominantly designed for the sort of the Ed Sheerans and the Katie Tunstalls, where you're literally trying to trigger like 3 loops over the top of each other, just like whoa. But for basic, I just want to strum in some chords and loop it round. just amazeballs.
Yeah, really,
Anyway.
really good for
Yes.
especially for this sort of practice.
Exactly.
The fact that you can play over one chord from that collection, or you can practice over a bunch of chords. There's a lot of different ways of using it.
I mean, I know there's, you know, I find it quite difficult to practice over an actual tune, you know, like if I just want to jam along to a tune, because of course there's so much other stuff going on in that tune, and the other guitar players playing over the sort of, so, I mean, again, I think you said you do backing tracks on your website, don't you? And I know we have backing tracks that if you search for Anderton's backing tracks, you'll see some stuff on Bandcamp come up. They've been sort of specially written to be a song but without a lead guitar part in them, so they're cool as well. But Looper for me that would be my first, you know, if I only owned one pedal, it would be the Looper pedal.
Yeah, I think I quite like delay pedals as well, but you know, that's another, Looper pedals are amazing.
Not for live, not for like being in a band or anything like that, just for being at home. If I could only have one pedal. Well. Do you use Loopers live?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a talented man, don't you see?
Well, no, you just have to be brave.
Yes.
Because if you're doing it live and it doesn't quite sync, it can be a bit...
I remember seeing that first, you know, what's Ed, is it called Chewbacca or something? He has this custom, is it called Chewbacca? Pete, no, help me out, somebody. Someone will know.
Okay.
But when you see him playing, and he's got this probably about the size of this keyboard, to be honest with you, it's some custom-built looper. I think it uses Boss technology, but you know, some of his songs have got like dozens, and he does vocal parts into them, percussive parts, guitar playing. He's an incredible musician.
It's just like, I know a lot of people slag off his stuff as being poppy and he's not doing guitar fast enough or so. I don't know exactly understand the problem, but man, he's a young guy. He sells out arenas and plays by himself with an acoustic guitar and sings. I mean, that's amazing. He deserves all of the success he's got.
But it's not. It's pop constructed unbelievably sophisticatedly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Amazing. Yeah, sorry, enough of
that. Ed, if you're watching, come on the show.
Yes.
That'd be amazing.
Come and play the major scale with us.
You know, never mind playing in front of 80,000 people at Wembley. Just come here, where we can't afford to pay you. Just get biscuits and cups of tea.
Yeah, the tea's good.
Tea's good.
The tea's good.
Anyway.
Okay, did that kind of help you with your understanding of what the major scale is and how the chords come from, and why learning all of this major scale stuff is useful?
I feel like I'm looking at a jigsaw, and I've just put like the first bit down, so I can't see the rest of it now. But I'm kind of hoping that once 3 or 4 more bits go down, that it'll start to make sense.
Good. Okay.
Yes. I mean, I do understand. You know, when I'm around players like, you know, Joss and Pete and Rob and yourself and stuff like that, and they'll go, what are the chords like that? And you go, okay, right, well, this is what'll work. And I'll go, I can't do that yet, you know, and I need to.
That's this.
Yes,
so I'm going to, let's leave that there for now.
Okay.
What I think we should do for the next Rutbuster is do a cheat on that, so you can find the chords really quickly, and I'll explain how to do it on the guitar neck. But let's have give the people out there in internet land a chance to actually explore using the major scale.
So what should be, given that I know we shoot these back to back, but you know, I think it's quite cool at the end of every one of these lessons, the guys are going to have, or guys and girls watching this, drop my plectrum, are going to have a couple of weeks before the next lesson. So what should we leave them with, a sort of an exercise, or have we done it? Is it just play those chords?
The exercise would be to try and find some songs that use, and I'll put links again on the website for songs in the key of G that you can solo over, and or use G major backing tracks. Good idea. G is a really nice key to learning because of, when we start looking at modes later on down the way, G is a nice friendly guitar key for using a few different modes. So the key of G is a good one, but you could definitely try other keys as well. But if you can get familiar with pattern 1 of the major scale properly, so you really know that you're confident with the fingering, also being able to play it with just one finger, so the whole scale up and down with one finger. The end result being that I don't care what the fingers are, so long as the notes, the dots are in exactly the right place, then that's the key thing. Yeah?
Okay, absolutely. So there you go. Do that now. Go and buy yourself a looper, preferably from Andertons. Play G, C, D.
Yep.
Round,
A minor,
round.
E minor.
Whichever, throw them all in. And that one.
Practice the major scale with it. And we'll see you for some more next week.
In 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time. On the other channel, to whatever you're watching now.
How often we do these, but something like that. Just subscribe, you'll find them. Bye!
See ya!